Hello everyone, George Sawtooth here. Do you see these buildings over here? That's the Fort Saint Vrain power plant. When it was first built, it was a nuclear power plant. And right around 1990, it was converted to a natural gas power plant. But yeah, it was actually a nuclear power plant. Isn't that a really amazing thing here in Colorado, rural Colorado? If you look over here, this is Wildcat Mound. See Wildcat Mound over there? And just north of there is the old Dent site. That has some history to it too, but right now I'm going to talk about, let's go over here. This is the old site of Fort Saint Vrain. They erected this memorial here, Fort Saint Vrain. I can focus on this. It's the first courthouse in Weld County, Colorado, right here. It was the original county seat of Weld County. And they decided to move it to Greeley because the town around here never did really take off. Here's the marker here, Fort Saint Vrain, built about 1837 by Colonel Saran Saint Vrain. General Fremont reorganized his historical exploration expedition here, July 23rd, 1843. The fort was also visited by Francis Parkman and Kit Carson. Erected by the Centennial State Chapter Daughters of the American Revolution, 1911. This marker is in really excellent condition, made of granite, 1911. I like how the concrete here is finished so beautifully. But originally, this Fort Saint Vrain was called Fort Lookout, and later named Fort George after George Bent from Bent's Fort, southeast Colorado by La Junta. Excuse me, sorry about that. It was a major trading post till about 1848. And this is the old site here. It finally became known as Fort Saint Vrain. It is built in a likeness of Bent's old fort near La Junta. It's made of adobe, 2 feet thick, 14 feet high. It had a corral inside of the structure, and that was built for cattle and horses. This is the old Fort Saint Vrain. This is the South Platte River right here. The Saint Vrain River and the South Platte River, they converge right over in this area, right here. Right over in that area, maybe a couple miles that way, near the Fort Saint Vrain power plant. Fort Saint Vrain had a cistern. A cistern is where they collect rainwater, and it was lined with lime. Isn't that amazing? It was a trading post for fur, but it was also a safe place for travelers at that time. You know, the 1840s, that was a long time ago, to replenish their supplies and get a little bit of rest. John Fremont stopped here in 1842 to obtain horses and coffee. He stopped again in 1843 on his second expedition. And he was with Kit Carson. Fremont was a topographer, trained in astronomy, geology, and natural resources. That guy was pretty smart at that time. There's also a funny story. I don't know if you guys ever heard the story. John Fremont, it was kind of a wet spring that spring, and the South Platte was kind of overflowing with a lot of water, but he wanted to go out and do a little bit of exploration and do a little bit of surveying. So he got on a boat, and they told him not to. They said the rapids were a little bit too much, but he disregarded what they were saying, took his equipment, got on the boat, and within a few minutes the boat had capsized. He lost all of his equipment. He was in the water. Kit Carson had to go save him. He saved him, and then John Fremont says, "You guys have to go back and recover my equipment." And those guys said, "No way." And they all started laughing. So he never did recover that equipment. It's probably still somewhere lost somewhere. Somebody should go out and see if they could find it. But even if you're a smart guy like John Fremont, you may still make some stupid mistakes. So yeah, this is the old site of Fort Saint Vrain. Let's see, Richard Wooten from southeast Colorado ran a courier service from Bent's Old Fort near Fort Lupton, or near La Junta, Colorado, actually, La Junta, and to Fort Saint Vrain, and then on to Fort Laramie, which is up in Wyoming. And Fort Laramie is a really cool place too. I checked that out. God, it was probably 12 years ago. That's a really cool place. A lot of haunted buildings there. The jail there is so scary. But yeah, this is the old site of Fort Saint Vrain. The fur industry kind of collapsed in the 1840s because the United States started trading with China, and silk came in, and people would rather have, you know, silk hats and silk coats rather than beaver. So that kind of collapsed, and then Fort Saint Vrain was no longer a trading post in 1845. A post office was established here in 1859. Fort Saint Vrain was the county seat in 1861. The town never really did grow, so the county seat was moved to Greeley, which is a few miles that way, 8 miles, 10 miles that way. Such a beautiful day though, isn't it? A gorgeous day. I say that in all my videos, but I tell you, it's such a beautiful day. Look at the airplanes in the sky. I don't know if you could see that in this camera. A few airplanes in the sky. People going to Thanksgiving probably. Okay, can you imagine if this was 1840, we'd be inside a fort. Massive doors. When travelers would come, they would have to open those doors. And of course, a fort is going to protect you from Indian attacks. Just imagine here in this area, cows and horses. It'd be interesting where the cistern was. Let's see. The ruins of Fort Saint Vrain were finally demolished around 1951. They were in a lot of disrepair, so the local farmers just kind of plowed it under and started using this as a farmland. There's the whole Fort Saint Vrain power plant, which is now uses natural gas. It used nuclear energy from about 1970 to about 1990. Look at that beautiful old tree there. I bet you he's wonderful in the summertime. We're just a few days. This is Tuesday. Thursday is Thanksgiving, so there is nobody out here. I bet you this area is so beautiful in the summertime. I've never been out here in the summertime. It's always been in the fall. Not sure why. Let's go look one more last time at the marker. Old Fort Saint Vrain. Here's the marker again. Beautiful, beautiful marker. Granite. Gray granite. I wonder where they got the granite from. Most likely Colorado. Colorado has some beautiful granite, I tell you. So if you guys ever want to come out here, this guy was kind of the manager, Marcelin Saint Vrain. He was the manager of this place. Try to post it, and maybe you guys, hopefully you guys can read this. And look at, here's this old picture of the people dedicating this in 1911. Can you guys see this? Hopefully. Look at those old timers. Isn't that amazing? Look at this. They're dressed up like they're going to church. Sopris, Elbridge Sopris, Mrs. Louis Saint Vrain Sopris, granddaughter, great-grandson, and daughter of Marcelin Saint Vrain. So they were all out here during that dedication to this. I tell you, history is so amazing. So try to come out and check out Fort Saint Vrain, guys. I bet you this place is hot in the summertime. And I'm going to make a second video about a wonderful archaeological site just right over there called Dent.